The inauguration of the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Lectures in Bombay on Sunday, August 14, 1955, under the auspices of All India Radio, marks a new departure in Indian broadcasting. These are to be an annual feature, and each series of lectures will be delivered by an eminent authority with the object of arousing public interest in contemporary problems. The inaugural address was given by Sri C. Rajagopalacharya. Appropriately enough, he chose to speak on the good administrator, a subject of supreme importance to independent India. This address is now reproduced by me. Now, Sri C. Rajagopalacharya's address. The Minister for Broadcasting has conferred on me a great honor by asking me to inaugurate and give the first lecture in the Patel Memorial Lectures. Vallabhbhai Patel was a great man. He worked for the deliverance of India from foreign rule, and he lived to see it fully achieved. In the work of reconstruction which followed, he saw to the integration of all the states in the Indian Union. About 40 years ago, Vallabhbhai Patel gave up the legal profession when the motherland wanted one of his types for the gigantic struggle for liberation. But alas, before India could well get on without him, death snatched him from us. It was said of Augustus that it would have been better for Rome if Augustus had never been born or had never died. This can be said with great truth about India and Vallabhbhai Patel. It is not intended that this lecture should deal with Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's life, but what I shall talk about today, namely, the efficient administration of our country, was a subject uppermost in his anxious mind when death was relentlessly approaching him. If one wrote a book on any subject, it would be a grave defect if anything important and relevant to the subject were omitted. When writing a book, one must be careful also about the amount of emphasis that is laid on each aspect that is dealt with. The reader's mind should be left with no bias but enriched with well-balanced thoughts. In a talk of this kind, one need not be so careful and lapses will be excused. Often, putting all the pros and cons justly, weighing and balancing things one against another in a careful and proper way, we shall have done justly and well, but we leave no resulting positive effect behind. This is the evil of too much of balance. We give information but little guidance. In fact, we create plenty of doubt and caution and no momentum for initiative. Movement and caution forward always means and involves taking risks, accepting the chance of going wrong, and having to rectify upon the experience gained. There are plenty of things to be said on good administration, but if I proceed to collect them all and put them before you, I shall not have done anything very useful. Indeed, I doubt my ability to do such exhaustive analysis with anything like satisfaction to myself, not to speak of the effect on the listeners. We have turned the British out and we have told all the people of the land that it is good for them that they now govern themselves. But afterthoughts lead one to some doubts. Our hopes can be realized only if and to the extent that the administrative setup is satisfactory. If anyone investigated into what most people in India desire as regards government, whether they want democracy or whether they want a federal or a unitary government or whether they want the American type of democracy or the British and so on, I guess we shall see that the people want honest, efficient, prompt, just and sympathetic officers. And they do not mind the form of government. The constitution has been settled on the basis of democracy, universal adult suffrage being the basis of democracy. The selection of representatives who will wield supreme power in legislation as well as in every individual's judgment, weighing the same as every other's. No qualifications are prescribed for standing as candidates. Anyone may be elected. Something like the principle underlying the universal postal system, where distances do not count. An Anna will carry your postcard to the neighboring village as well as to distant Calcutta or Karachi or Cape Comorin. The distances and differences between men and men are ignored so far as the power to select representatives is concerned. That is a settled and final affair, not to be disturbed till another Plato or Manu is born. What I shall now talk about, however, is the type of men required for the satisfactory administration of a tremendously big area and big population such as India is, or even a single state like Bombay or Uttar Pradesh or Bengal is, or even the reduced units down south. In the selection of personnel to fill official posts, whether judicial or executive, the principle of universal equality is not enforced, and qualifications do not count. The people expect a rise in the general standard of comfort, and this too, not for one class at the expense of another, but among all classes generally, urban as well as rural. Apart from technical advances leading to the increased average national income, which will go towards bringing about a rise in the general standard of living, the importance of an efficient administrative organization is very great. No people can be happy with an inefficient government or with a government that is not firm and impartial. The psychology of government, the psychology of the caste nexus and of class differences is strong in India. All the greater is the need for firm and impartial officials, and the common people know this. For any administration to be good and efficient as a whole, we want the right type of men. The quality of the men placed in position is more important than the laying down of rules and methods of operation. The caste consciousness is a hard reality. It unites and divides in a very real manner today, whatever be our goal. And today is most important in matters of administration. Short-sighted favoritism and concessions to produce contentment among classes and castes will be very short-lived and deteriorate into a constant pandering to intrigues and factions if we do not look to the real efficiency of the administration. Several causes have combined to raise the level of comfort that is aimed at in our country among all classes now. Although desires have gone up, the national income has not materially increased in that proportion. Hence, The mental condition of our people after the achievement of complete independence is not one that can at all be described as happy. This is so especially in the case of those who have received school or college education of any kind. Religion is absolutely essential to drive away the fog that surrounds the truth in regard to what we really require. It is not less important than the devising of ways to increase national production in all directions. The spread of a sense of true values and the development of adequate spiritual strength for facing the struggles that are never involved in life can be done only through education organized on right lines. Apart from religion and sound education of intellect as well as character, good administration is very important. It is important in all countries, but in our country it is most important. An efficient and just administration can make up for a great deal of unhappiness and frustration in other respects. For the administration to be efficient, we require the right sort of men to be in position of power and responsibility. Whatever may be believed or said in the passion or thoughtlessness of the hour that often passes for democratic thought, these men must come from our organized higher educational institutions. Splendid exceptions, meteor-like, sometimes appear. Leaders and organizers with Herculean strength come up now and then without any or with but little academic education. But these are exceptions. The general rule is that the men we require for running the administration must come from our higher educational institutions. They cannot be got at elsewhere. The type of equipment and mental makeup that we require for good administrators must therefore be kept in mind in the organization of higher education, for these cannot be obtained for them elsewhere or later after recruitment. What are the requirements we should demand in a good administrator? Character is a fundamental requirement, and a fundamental requirement is the most important thing. We cannot let fundamentals take care of themselves. Gentlemen and ladies, I will continue later. Thank you.